Hi everybody, my name is Joe Yasharoff. I'm the news director here at Montgomery Community Media and the host of MoCo's Most Famous. We have a very special guest today with a Hollywood story, to say the least. Born in the small Caribbean country of Dominica, population 73,000. She moved to Silver Spring when she was 7, attended Kennedy High School and the University of Maryland, where she was a star athlete at both places, taught at Kennedy, and this summer won a gold medal in the World Championships, and also on August 3rd, the Summer Olympics in Paris, won the gold medal. It was the first medal of any kind at the Olympics for her home country of Dominica. Ladies and gentlemen, Thea LaFond. Welcome to MoCo's Most Famous. This was your ultimate goal, right? Not winning the gold, but being on MoCo's Most Famous, right?
Absolutely. We did an interview and some work earlier this year, and I just thought, like, wow, I need to come back. And this was like the surefire way to make sure you got me back.
It worked out great.
Thank you. I think so too.
It goes without saying, congratulations from all of us at MCM and everyone here in studio and here watching for your amazing achievement. Have you had a chance, now that was August 3rd, we're taping this 2.5 months later. Mm-hmm. Have you had a chance to sit and relax and say, wow, I won a gold medal?
Let's just say most of my downtime occurs on a plane. Mm-hmm. So sure, yes, on planes, yes, I have time. You know, I'm literally in a vacuum in the sky to really reflect on this, but it's been so go, go, go since this medal has been put around my neck in the best way possible. But every day I still wake up and I remember what we accomplished, and it's amazing feeling all over again.
And you say we because nobody does anything in sports or in life by themselves, and we is your team. Who's we?
So my first we is my husband, Aaron Gatson. He's also my coach. So we are an amazing dynamic duo. We've been together, working together for 8 years, married for 2, and he's been just this irreplaceable force in all that we do. And you know, you talk about meeting a life partner, but also meeting someone that's genuinely interested in you achieving your goals and setting their life to help you achieve those goals. It's been a blessing.
How do you like your new first name, gold medalist? You know that for the rest of your life, you're not Thea LaFond anymore, you're gold medalist Thea LaFond. How does that sound? How does that feel?
It still maybe feels a little almost pretentious to say sometimes. You know, I know it's something I've worked so hard and I've earned, but I still go by Thea. For sure, but it does have a nice ring to it.
It sure does. So a big question here. So you dreamt of winning a gold medal for a long time, obviously. Then you win the gold medal. How did it compare to what you thought it might be if you did it?
You know, there was a long time where I kept saying that this was my end goal, right? You know, you don't only want to be on podium, you want to be on top of the podium. And then you get closer to the Olympics and you know, maybe you stop kind of trying to preemptively maybe hurting your own feelings. It's like, okay, let's not even focus on the goal. Let's just focus on what we can control. And so going into the Olympics, you know, gold was being spoken about all around me. But I realized that the only thing I could really control was myself. And so I kept telling myself, you know, if you go out there and you give it your best, I think you can get on the podium. And if it all works out well, you could end up on top of the podium. And so going into the Olympics, I really wasn't, you know, gold driven. It was just, hey, let's be goal driven. Okay. Let's set these little goals for ourselves. Let's hold ourselves accountable. Let's execute. And I think if we do that really well, we can do something special.
But how do you drown out the other people, whoever those other people are, thinking gold, saying gold? You know that that's what they're thinking. Yeah. And I know athletes are very good at compartmentalization, so how do you do that?
I think I had to just kind of remind myself that it's okay. You know, I had 2 Olympics that I definitely did not get gold, and especially the second one in Tokyo was really rough. And I had to kind of let go of that, the fear of letting people down, the fear of failure. And I think that this year I realized once I dropped all that, I was so much more open to success. And so coming into the Olympics with everyone talking about gold around me, I was just like, let them talk. All it is talk. Like mentally, I'm in a good place. I have control over my emotions right now. I have control over, you know, everything that happens. The work's already been put in. Let's just go have fun.
All right, so we're going to come back to now and the Olympics, but we want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So you were a star athlete from a young age. At what point did you know that you kind of had something special?
I started track and field simply because my friends were doing it at John F. Kennedy High School. And I was one of the last people to join the team. And funny enough, I'm the last person to still be doing the sport. But I don't think I really knew something was really, really special till around my junior year. And that was when I won states for the first time, indoor in hurdles, I believe. And it was at that point where I was like, oh, like, maybe I'm like really good at this. But I don't think it was until my senior year when the college letters, recruiting letters started coming in that I started realizing that this was a little bit more than just pretty good.
All right, so we want to play something for you that you shared with us for the documentary that you cooperated and allowed us to do at MCM. So we're gonna watch this video right now of you in high school. So let's take a look.
Great. I was a bit worried. Last night I actually had prom. I didn't know if my legs would be up to it this morning. And I dug deep, gave it my all, and I pulled out a win.
What does that bring back? What kind of thoughts and feelings does that bring back?
It brings back a little bit of panic, to be honest. I distinctly remember finishing off day one at States and rushing back to our hotel in Baltimore and literally throwing on this dress, this gorgeous purple dress, and trying to do my hair. But I was rushing so much, I was sweating. And if you've ever tried to put on like makeup and do your hair while you're sweating, it is the worst feeling ever.
I have not.
Sorry. And then getting to the prom and having a blast, but also being like so time sensitive and like checking the clock like every 30 minutes. And then racing back to Baltimore from DC to get ready for day two and thinking, okay, maybe I just had enough fun. But like waking up the next morning and definitely being tired, and I was like, please, please let me be able to be athletic today. That's all I want to do is to be athletic. So a little panic there for sure, but it makes for a great story now.
Absolutely. Does it feel like it was a long time ago?
It does. It feels like a different world ago. Yeah, a different lifetime ago.
All right, so you go to University of Maryland where you continue your star accomplishments and do great at Maryland. And then, so at Maryland, what were you thinking now? What was changing in terms of your goals and thoughts about the immediate future at Maryland?
So at Maryland, I wasn't really sure what my future was going to hold in the sport. I went in, and because I did 4 events very well, they naturally kind of pushed me towards the multi. I hated it. And I realized I'm not a mid-distance runner, and the 800 was just killing me in the pentathlon and the heptathlon. But I had this one jump coach. His name is Frank Costello, a phenomenal guy. And I remember him telling me, he was like, you know what, like, you're a good multi, but you could be a great, great triple jumper. And I was like, well, I don't know. Everyone else is telling me multi, and I actually, under him, my All-American titles are, believe it or not, in high jump, not even triple jump. But he was a high jump coach. And I just remember him telling me, he's like, listen, you can do whatever you want. You're an adult. You're going out into the world. But mark my words, triple jump is your way. And I'm like, okay, man, whatever. Like, okay, cool. I was like, thanks, Frank. Love you. But I wasn't quite sure. So I went the multi route out of college. I had accolades in the high jump, the triple jump, and the hurdles throughout college. 2 conference records in there because we were in the ACC, and then we went to the Big Ten while I was there. So there was definitely this just kind of more than a jack of all trades, but still trying to figure out what my true mastery was. And I thought it was going to be the multi, but I was wrong.
By the way, Frank Costello, I took a class at Maryland taught by Frank Costello. That was my difficult course schedule at Maryland, taking a track and field class, even though I wasn't a track and field athlete. So he was a very good teacher. So
He is.
Okay, so I want to go back to Kennedy. Sorry to go a little out of order.
You're fine.
What, that community, do you stay in touch? I know that later you went and taught at Kennedy. So what does the Kennedy community mean to you? What did it mean then, and what does it mean now to you?
The Kennedy community has to be, honestly, one of my first major sources of community outside of my family. I have to, hats off to my head coach, Kevin Monroe, for honestly providing me like such a positive foundation in sport. I truly fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with my events. It was fun. He was one of the first people outside of like my family and family friends to truly hold me accountable. And in the best way possible, keep me humble. I'll never forget slacking off on a workout when he wasn't there one day, and little did I know that he was there. He was just hiding. And he popped out from just outside the track, and he told me to go home. And I was shocked. At this point, I was one of the upperclassmen. I was a captain. And he was like, if you're not here to give your best, you don't need to be here at all. And he sent me home. And I will never forget that. And from that day on, never again. And this is kind of like the support that you need.
Sure.
And then, of course, you have the academic side of it, because as my mother says, I am a student athlete. Student comes first. It's been, honestly, bonds and relationships that have actually carried throughout my life. I have so many teachers that then became coworkers, that then became friends. And Kennedy very often gets almost a negative light shed on them. And you start realizing that these are people within the building that have gone through so much, that are continuing to overcome so much, and are truly diamonds in the rough. And Kennedy, in all that it is, honestly gave me some of the best lifelong friends, gave me teachers that truly cared about me as a person, cared about my well-being, and gave me a place where I could just be me and be accepted for me outside of the outside of the athletic realm. So very grateful for that entire staff building that place.
So we're going to get to your training in 1 second, but listening to you talk, Thea, I can't help, as someone who's worked in TV, that you could do TV in your sleep. So is that something in your future? I mean, I could see you as not just track, sports, news. You could do whatever you wanted. Is that something you've thought about? I'm just wondering.
You know, more and more, it's definitely starting to creep into my mind. I get that a lot. Thank you to my mommy, who was a news anchor. So maybe growing up and seeing her on TV, you know, it started off pretty young. But I'd be open to it. Hey, are you hiring? Let me know.
Sure, absolutely. I got a contract right here.
Thanks.
You ready? Okay, so we're going to talk about your training. So a lot of athletes spend millions of dollars on their training. For LeBron James, Djokovic, many others. They spend tons of money on their training. You and your coach and husband, Aaron, did things a little differently. Would you say that's a safe characterization?
Yeah, that's a very safe characterization indeed. We built our own training setup. So, mind you, when I first met Aaron, he was still coaching at Churchill High School, another MoCo's school. And I signed on as an assistant coach, and I was also training alongside of these high schoolers. High schoolers taught me the basics of triple jump, and they were high schoolers that he had coached prior. So I was in my 20s learning how to jump from 16-year-olds. And we were outside. And when it got cold, he had a rollout runway that we would roll out down the middle of Winston Churchill High School. Thank you, Winston Churchill High School. And I would be jumping down the hallways at Winston Churchill High School because it was freezing outside. And then we were able to meet up after a clinic at a facility in Ashburn, and they allowed us to start training there. And Aaron and his best friend Mohammed decided to build me a runway and sandpit. So in 2 days, they got the schematics from a pole vaulter off like Instagram, I believe, and they ordered the wood and they built me a runway, a raised runway. We put Mondo track on top of it, hauled in 7 tons of sand into a wooden box, and that was our first setup. And then we moved to a cricket and sports complex in Columbia last November, and we took apart that runway, brought it back together, created 2 more runways next to it, put in more Mondo, hauled the 7 tons of sand again, and we occupy now about a strip of that building in Columbia. And it's not the fanciest thing, but we've been really big on quality over quantity. And it might not have been the most expensive or bougiest, but it became more than enough.
So let's talk about the basement. Your
Oh, God,
parents'
yes.
basement. Parents are here. I've been in that basement.
Yeah.
And with all due respect, it's a great basement. It's not huge. It's not fancy, if I may say that. And so if people saw this basement, and maybe we have some video, and you know what? Let's take a look and let's take a look
God.
at the basement and see.
I don't have like a huge Olympic training center. I built a gym in my parents' basement from things that were donated to me or from Facebook Marketplace. My little team and my little setup has made me a world champion. And so, can't be that bad, right?
I guess not, right? I mean,
Not
does
bad at
this
all.
prove to anyone who has a doubt that you don't have to pour millions of dollars and have the fanciest training equipment and places to win a gold medal?
Absolutely. I think we proved that knowledge is power, and having the right resources, not all the resources, but the right ones, are more than that's more than enough. Major shout out to my parents for letting me build that gym during the pandemic. Like you saw, it's not a lot of room. It's not the fanciest thing. I bought stuff off of Facebook Marketplace, and I've just made it work. And I think that's kind of like our motto at this point. We're just making it work.
Yeah, so here you are. You got the basement, you got the places that you're talking about, and so did you ever think about that this gal is training this place and she's got more money and more resources and I don't? Apparently not.
No, not really. I think at the beginning, when you start traveling and stuff and you see where people are training and see what other tracks look like and other training facilities, you kind of naturally compare yourself to like what's going on. And you're like, oh wow, they have this is nice. Or they have a, weatherproof training venue that's not, a high school track and then a high school hallway. Like that's nice. But, I got to give him a lot of credit to Aaron. He always ensured that I had anything that I needed. And that was kind of like the foundation of everything. I was always taken care of.
Please tell your parents not to be mad at me about the comment about the basement. I wasn't making fun of it. I was just saying that it's not, what some might think.
I can't promise that they won't talk to you after this interview, but that's on them.
Dang it. All right, so the road to gold wasn't all smooth, was it?
No.
No? Well, we're gonna talk about that later, but there are other things. So you had a trip to Jamaica, and things didn't go exactly according to plan, and we're going to take a look now at what happened in Jamaica.
How did Jamaica go?
How did Jamaica go? Jamaica was a mess. Okay, let's start from the beginning, okay? I'm currently in Jamaica. I'm actually in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and I'm actually making my way to Kingston in the back of a taxi. I'm in the taxi for 3 hours. The last 24 hours have been madness. Our flight was delayed by weather, and then they told us that the flight was canceled. This morning, Aaron can't find his passport. He tells me that I should get on the flight, so that's what I do. And so now I am solo dolo in the back of a taxi, making my way to Kingston, Jamaica, to compete tomorrow. This is not the plan. I like to get there, one, primarily with my coach, of course, and two, at least a day or two ahead of time so I get time to acclimate. And so we'll see. Let's go.
I don't have a question, just go.
Just go. Yeah, it wasn't that great. I think that next day I kind of got in my head a little too much. It was my first competition after Indoor Worlds, after winning that title. Maybe I put too much pressure on myself, thinking that, the track and field world was just looking at me and I just had to perform so well. And I just made rookie mistakes, doing things that you don't have to do, not fully trusting my body at the time. And I think I finished like third at that competition, which, okay, I promise you, I'm not trying to sound snooty, but I wasn't supposed to finish third.
Right.
The expectation was to win and to at least perform to my expectation, and I fell short of that, so that was rough.
So was there a lesson there? I mean, obviously you can't control some things in life. So what did you learn from that experience?
That I don't need to rebuild or do anything new. We're just executing what we've been practicing all along. Just trust it.
At one point in your training, you allowed yourself to think, what if? You use those words. By the way, thank you for sharing all these videos with us for the documentary. We were not down there, so it makes us look like we were all over the place, but you were all over the place, so thank you for sharing those for the documentary. So at one point, you allowed yourself to think and actually say, I don't want to say out loud because as we'll hear, it wasn't really loud, to think what if, and we're going to take a look at that right now.
And there's one video, and I've actually never shared it with anyone. And it's me when I just got to the hotel 4 days before I competed at Worlds. And I sat down, I looked to the camera, and I say, I'm like, what if? Just what if? What if I win? And it was the first time I had ever said that. And it was like the babiest of whispers. For as loud and as boisterous as I am, it was like the wimpiest words. But it was like, you know, like Aaron was in the room, I think, with me, and I was afraid that even he would hear it. I'm like, why are you afraid of your husband hearing it?
When did that happen? What month was that?
And this was end of February, so we had just
Okay.
gotten to Glasgow. And we
Okay.
had competed 4 days later
For the Worlds.
for World Indoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what made you start thinking that and saying it and wanting to record that?
I had a really, really good indoor season. I'd only competed around twice before, but everything felt good. Like everything felt good. Even when I was uncomfortable, I was still doing so much better than I was doing in the previous years. And I just had this feeling there was no pressure internally that I put on myself. I felt like I was competing free, which is an amazing feeling to have. Everything data-wise at practice was better than it had ever been in my career. And I kind of had a feeling that this year was going to be different. And great for foreshadowing there. So I just wanted to be able to say it. And I think previously maybe I'd been too superstitious, like afraid to claim what I want in life and in my career. But I was like, okay, well, we're going to break that superstition a little bit. And I broke it in the babyest way possible by whispering, a 5-second clip. But in doing that, kind of really helped shift my mentality into let's go get it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story and the video again. Okay, so a lot of athletes have sports psychologists, therapists. A lot of people have therapists. Not a lot of people share the moments where they're talking to their therapists with an organization like MCM. And again, thank you for sharing that with us. So, how long have you had the psychologist that you work with?
Had to be at least 3 years now.
3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do for you?
So I brought Dr. Juliet Francis on board after the Olympics in Tokyo. It was probably my most emotional low. I felt like I had disappointed myself, and I don't think I've ever suffered and felt that feeling before, like truly self-disappointment. And I didn't know how to process it. I hid and cried for about a month until the dam broke, and Aaron was like, I think we just need to bring in a professional. You don't have to figure this out on your own. And so we brought her in, and year by year, we just got stronger and stronger. And I'll never forget our first meeting. She told me that her aim was that she didn't want me to need her anymore. And I was like, that's not how you make money. What are you talking about? But she was right. And year after year, I needed her less and less. And you ended up seeing one out of 2 of our conversations this year.
And
So.
we're going to take a listen. We're going to be a fly on the wall with you, I think, at your parents' house in one of the rooms.
And I just want you to close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, blowing them out slowly, and another one into your nose, out to your mouth, and one more. And I want you to repeat and accept the following affirmations. As you continue to breathe, I want you to repeat, I am extraordinary.
I am extraordinary.
I am fearless.
I am fearless.
I am built different.
I am built different.
I am a champion.
I am a champion.
Okay? Open your eyes. Okay. So let's start from there.
Okay.
Wow. So what do you think when you look back at that that particular session and where you were?
You know, that session was only a few months out, I believe, from actually competing at the Olympics. And even in that moment, I think there was still part of me that didn't necessarily believe fully what I was saying. But I think eventually I realized that I don't need to always be 100% confident. Sometimes you just need 10 seconds of bravery, 10 seconds of feeling that confidence, and 10 seconds is all I need on a runway to jump. And it's crazy to look back and still kind of see how much doubt there was in my eyes in some of those statements, and how it all worked out.
And you've told us in the past that you don't want your opponents, obviously, to see weakness, right? How important is that? I mean, just them not thinking that there's any kind of weakness or doubt in you.
I think that so much of the sport is mental, and you don't, this sounds crazy, but you don't want to give people unnecessary hope. That's kind of how I view it. Sure. And you know, with one of the reasons I was so upset about how Jamaica went was that it was my first showing after being a world champion, and I didn't want anyone to think that there was a chance that they could beat me. And first showing out, I gave them that chance. And so it's very much so a physical prowess game, but also a mind game, yes.
We talked about bumps in the road on the way to gold. So looking at the bracelet you're wearing, tell us, at what point were you injured, and how worried were you that, oh my God, this is the end and I can't win my gold medal?
So this actually occurred 2 weeks before Indoor Worlds. And everyone assured me, they're like, hey, muscularly everything is fine, tendon-wise everything is fine. I think it might just be a bit of an aggravation, but you'll be okay. But I've been injured before, and you eventually learn your body and you realize when something's really wrong. But miraculously, this never actually bothered me when I was jumping. I would feel like I got hit with a baseball bat afterwards, but during, it was fine. It hurt to jog, but other than that, fine. So went to World Indoors, won, was training afterwards, and it just wasn't getting better. And in May, we decided to go get an MRI done on my knee. And I found out that I had fractured the cartilage at the base of my femur. So on the inside of my knee, where cartilage is supposed to be smooth, I had a very, very small crack. And at least I felt like I wasn't crazy anymore. But I remember sitting down with a surgeon, and Dr. Bennett, love Craig Bennett, and asked him what my options were. And he said, well, you have two options at this moment. One, you can let this heal naturally. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. How do I do that? He goes, you don't jump for 3 months. This was a conversation done in May. May, June, July, August.
Olympic
Finals, August 3rd. Yes. I had my PT, Kala Flag, on the phone, and she's known Craig Bennett for a long time. And before I could say anything, she goes, we're not doing that, Craig, next. And he was like, okay, the next option is you just manage it. He's like, it's probably not going to get any better. It will probably only get worse, but we can deal with it afterwards. And if you really need any help, I'll fly out to Paris and I'll help you out. I want you to achieve this goal. But you've been jumping on it already, so I think it's okay. And I chose the latter. So I won gold indoor and outdoor season, so indoor world championship and Olympic champion on a injured knee. And 2 weeks after, I got surgery to fix it.
And that was a no-brainer for you, right? I mean, you were going to try to get that gold no matter what, come hell or high water?
Yes, I call it my most and best calculated risk, but yes.
What did Aaron say?
He supported it. We talked through the pros and the cons. I was quite nervous about damaging my knee beyond repair. This is my sport and my livelihood, right? And we waited out, and we thought we could do something really special. And so, like I said, a calculated risk.
All right, so now we're going to August 3rd, 2024. What were you, take us there, what were you feeling? What was your body, your brain, your mind? What were you feeling that day leading up to the race, the competition?
So I've got to bring it back 24 hours. So this was our first ever qualifiers and final round that were back-to-back days. Normally in track and field, we have a rest day in between. This was our first time in jump history that we didn't have a rest day. In 24 hours, we were competing twice. And I remember going home after qualifiers and just being not too happy. I had fouled my first jump. I qualified on my second jump for finals, but I felt like the runway wasn't really what I liked. I felt like I was just kind of scatter-minded and I wasn't jumping to the best of my ability. And I remember Aaron calling me and being like, hey, good job today, but tomorrow we need a lot better. I need you to visualize X, Y, and Z. And I was like, okay. And he goes, are you okay? He had stepped out with some friends. And I was like, no, I'm just really overwhelmed right now. He was like, where are you? And I'm like, in the corner of our bathroom. He's like, doing what? I'm like, I'm just sitting here in uniform. I haven't showered from the meet yet. I was like, I just need a moment of peace. Too much was happening. He said, okay, call me if you need me. I remember just sitting there on the corner, sandy, just visualizing this jump over and over again. And I was like, listen, you can control only what you can control. So just focus on that. And so I came up with a plan for the next day. I was like, hey, we're going to warm up on this surface to make the track feel better in contrast. We're going to only utilize my PT as a last-ditch effort. For so long, Aaron and I traveled together. We're going to keep that the same. And we went out there, and I was like, there's nothing new. It's nothing new at this point. It's just doing what we've been doing for 8 years. Just do it. And that's what we ended up doing. The first jump was a safety jump. The second jump, Aaron pulls me over and he goes, if you want to do something big, you need to do it now. I'm like, what are you talking about? We have 5 more jumps. He's like, Thea, it's going to rain. The sky's going to open up. It is going to downpour. And if you know anything about the field events, the hardest part about outdoor season is that you have the elements to deal with. And when you're sitting out for over an hour waiting for your turn, it's really hard to maintain your body heat. And he was like, Thea, it has to be now. And I remember getting on that runway and just letting go of any inhibitions and being like, just go for it. Just go. And yeah.
Many athletes, when they accomplish something big, whether it's a big home run or a clutch jumper in a basketball game, when they're asked what they were thinking, they say nothing. Is that true? And describe nothing to us.
It started off as so much. I was like, okay, remember to push off the board this way. Remember to attack the ground this way. And I remember the last thing I told myself was, shut up. Shut up.
You turn off your brain?
Turn off the brain. I was like, at this point,
just
execute. You know what to do. You don't have to overdo it, overthink it. Go.
So you're in midair. Are you thinking when you're in midair, or the brain is still off at that point?
The last thing I remember thinking was speed through the board. Just keep that speed coming. And the jump ended up being like muscle memory.
And you land.
And I land.
And at that point, I mean, triple jumpers know, I mean, when you landed, what was your first thought?
I thought it was far, but my first thought was, oh, it must be good, because the crowd started going crazy from my second phase. So that last part before I jump into the pit, there was just a roar. And so I'm in the air hearing a roar. And then I land and it gets even louder. And I'm like, okay, this is probably really good. This is probably really good. And then I hop out the pit and you have this moment where you have to wait. You have to wait to see if, the light turns green to let you know it was a legal jump. And then you have to wait again to see the distance come up on the screen. And the light turned green and then the number came up. And everything just went blank from there. Honestly, I blacked out. And there are even parts where later that night, I was like, man, my hands really hurt. I was like, why do my hands hurt this much? I smacked the ground. Didn't know that happened. So my hands were red for like 24 hours later, but blacked out. Just joy.
All right, so now we're going to go to the medal ceremony. And, every athlete dreams of that. Yeah. The anthem for Dominica is playing. You've heard it a few times, I'm guessing, in your life.
Yeah.
What was that version like, standing up there?
I realized that this was the first time that my anthem had ever been played at the Olympic Games. It was the first time I had ever achieved an Olympic medal. And it was the first time that Dominicans around the world were probably standing up where they were at the playing of their national anthem. And I realized that in a stadium that fits around 73,000, I was essentially surrounded by the population that mimicked my own country. And I realized, I realized that this is so much bigger than me. This is so much bigger than just a gold medal. This is a sense of pride and history for Dominicans around the world.
So a lot of your family was there. One member of the family who was not there, Crane, your brother, your younger brother, your baby brother, I think you call him. He was a little busy because he plays football at Navy.
Yes.
By the way, 5-0 Navy, ranked Navy. Shout out to Navy.
Let's go. Beat Army.
So we're going to find out how Crane found out that you won a gold medal. So let's take a watch.
Crane LaFond! Hey, your sister just want to go medal.
So I've seen that conservatively a few dozen times. I'm guessing you've probably watched it a few more than a few dozen. How do you feel? I can see in your eyes. How do you feel when you see that, your brother finding out that you won the gold medal?
So I've got to start out by saying that my brother was so heartbroken he wasn't able to be there. And one of my biggest concerns was that he would feel left out. You know, both our immediate families were there, Aaron's family, my family, and I just didn't want him to feel like he was missing a part of family history. But to watch those boys, that brotherhood, their teammates, just kind of embrace him immediately, at least made me feel better that even though his biological family wasn't with him, his football family was.
So I know your family means a lot to you, and some of them are here today. Share with us just how important your family is to you.
You know, they really are everything. I think that it's because of them that I have such national pride, even though I was raised in the United States. It's because of them that I have this kind of tenacity to kind of go after whatever I want to. It's because of them that I think I am who I am. I have always looked at life in this positive lens, and it's truly because of the way my parents have raised me. I've been blessed to have, you know, a second pair of adoptive parents with my best friend Jennifer Schrader and her family, the Schraders. They have basically adopted me. They have fed me multiple times. Thank you for that. And you know, if there was ever a time that my biological parents weren't able to make something, they would show up and be there for me. And you know, it takes a village, and my family has been, honestly, the best village a girl can ask for when you have aspirations and hopes and dreams as big as I have, and to have people that never once let you give up on yourself, and if anything, help hold you accountable. There's nothing more you can ask for.
Let's talk about your husband, who happens to be your coach.
Yes.
How does that dynamic work? That can be awesome, and that can be not awesome. I'm guessing in your case it was pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I think it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And for us, it works. People often ask, you know, like, hey, what happens if you have a rough day at the track? Do you come home and, you know, you guys hold grudges? And that really doesn't happen. I think we both look at it as we are two members of a team. And we do everything to kind of get our team to be successful. And that's very much so how we treat everything. Everything is a conversation. We don't really argue much. It's always, let's discuss it. It's never us versus each other. It's us versus the problem. And I'm very lucky to have someone that I can not only, you know, get such amazing success in the sport with, but go so far in life with.
Let's talk about your home country, Dominica. So you win the Olympics.
Yeah.
And then not long after, you go down there for a week.
10 days, a little
10
bit,
days
yeah.
for a parade and all kinds of other stuff. Well, not in a nutshell, what was that experience like going back home now as the first person to not only win a gold medal, but to win a medal of any kind in the Olympics?
I think Aaron said it best when he said it was like being in a movie. I don't think I really realized what this meant for people, especially the emotional aspect of it. Everyone had a story about where they were when they watched me win. They had a story of where they were when they watched their anthem being played for the first time and their flag being raised. And, you know, we're a very tropical island. We're called the nature island of the Caribbean. And it rains very randomly. There doesn't need to be a cloud in the sky for it to rain. And halfway through the motorcade, the sky opens up and it is just downpour. And I'm like, oh man, like people are gonna go in, it's okay, it's fine. I don't want anyone getting sick. They went inside, they got umbrellas, they came back out. Very simple. And I just don't think I knew. I didn't even know what to expect, but what we received was so much more than I could ever hope for in welcoming. And for a tiny island, we tend to be easily divided by politics. But it was the first time that I saw our entire nation truly united under our flag. No one spoke about politics, religion, nothing. It was just joy and pride.
That's amazing, and you shared some of your pictures on Instagram, but also with us, and
Yeah.
it just looked amazing, just dreamlike, and just, we talked about Hollywood story at the beginning. I mean, this is a pretty good Hollywood story, isn't it?
I'd like to think so.
Probably people wouldn't believe it, you know. And how many, let's talk about Dominica, how many tracks and how many stadiums, and let's talk about all the great track facilities in Dominica.
So we have no track on island.
Oh.
We have one stadium, and it is a cricket stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But we're hoping to change that very soon. Very recently, our Prime Minister, Mr. Scarrett, Honorable Scarrett, announced that they will be building a track, and it will be named the Thea LaFond Track and Field Complex.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
But it will. In the meanwhile, we're actually fundraising and working towards building smaller facilities on island in my mother's home village of Maho, where we're looking to build a sandpit runway and also throwing circles, a place for the next generation to just kind of try it out, have fun, you know, spark some interest, and even have a place for them to compete. So we're getting there.
Your title is International Ambassador?
International Sports Ambassador.
Sports Ambassador. Now, do I have to call you Your Excellency?
No,
I
no.
don't? Okay, I just
Thea
want to
is
make
fine.
sure.
My mother is saying yes, I can hear her. But Thea is fine.
Okay. Last couple of questions for you. So now, this is 60 years from now. We're fast forwarding 60 years from now. You're on the rocking chair or whatever chair on the porch, and you're thinking back to the Olympics.
Yeah.
You have many other great memories to create, obviously, for the rest of your life. But now, just talking Olympics, what will be the first thought that comes to your mind when you're rocking on that chair?
The first thought is going to be that we did it. The second thought is going to be I should have extended that landing phase a little better. But, but the first
Seriously?
thought, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
That's why you're a great athlete.
You got to keep getting better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Okay, speaking of getting better, you led me right into this. So I think in 4 years there's going to be another Summer Olympics. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be in LA.
Yeah.
And you've been to 3 now. Will you be going to a 4th? You can break the news right now. Are you going to the LA Olympics?
The honest answer is that I have no clue. I really don't. So much life can happen in the span of 4 years, you know, and be lovely to have a family, lovely to get the opportunity to represent Dominica again. But I'd be tempting fate too much to say yes or no in any direction. If the opportunity presents itself and life-wise it's available, of course I'll take it. It'd be fun to do one more, but it's very difficult to feel greedy in a point when I have this hanging around my neck.
All right, so we're not breaking any news today, but that was a very good answer. Very good answer. Okay, so what do you want people to take from your story, specifically little kids? I know you're great with kids. I know you're a teacher. But what do you want them to take from your story?
I want them to take the idea that nothing is truly that far off. No dream is really too big. I don't know if I would have believed if I told my 13-year-old self that this is where it will be all these years later. But I do know that I had people around me that never gave up on me and that always challenged me to be the best version of myself. So to the young ones, I would say, please just go for it. Just try it. Try something new. Go for something new. And keep people around you that are genuinely good for you, that have your best interest at heart. Because it's not only the journey, it's the people you make and meet along the way, and it's a support.
Let's open it up to questions. We're going to do a Q&A session. Let's open it up. Do we have any questions?
So I have one question, like how do you balance your life, like work life, with your competitions? Like because I have seen you have competitions all over the world before the Olympics. Yes, so how do you balance that? And do you have any interesting stories?
Okay. So how do I balance my work life? I try to take breaks when I can, and I really try to reset with people that are near and dear to me. So my best friend, my family, just moments that don't require me to be in uniform or to be training are really, really special. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I do escape to social media. TikTok is like my favorite escape. And any fun stories, I will say that people always laugh when they ask if I met anyone. And my first story is Simone Biles in the 2016 Olympics, when she literally just walked into me and we didn't see each other, and I literally had to look down and apologize. I'm like, oh, hey. She's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, no problem. But that's always fun.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mia.
We have another question.
So as a woman who is likely to never win a gold medal, I believe if I had one, I would probably wear it a lot. So I'm just wondering, do you wear your medal doing other things? Do you find yourself like putting it on when you're just doing household chores, or do you just kind of sit and look at it?
I'm really sorry to disappoint you. I do not wear it very often outside of events. Number one, this thing is heavy. It is very heavy. It's over a pound hanging around my neck at all times. Two, it is precious, so it kind of just sits in its case. That's a lot. Okay, it sits in a makeup case because the case is so big. I actually brought it with me today. But it's so difficult to travel with it, so it stays in like a polished bag and a makeup case, and that's where I keep it.
Well, it looks great on you. So.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Who is next?
I just want to know how you stay so humble and down to earth with everything going on. And I know you. But Thea is the most humble person that you'll meet that's wearing a gold medal. And outside of that, I would just like you to share how you do that.
I don't know if there's a real secret to that answer. I think I try to be the most authentic version of myself. I try to be very relatable when people meet me. I've met some heroes that have been like, oh, well, they're not as great as I thought they'd be. But I also want people, when they meet me, I'm not saying that I think I'm anyone's hero, but when they meet someone that's achieved something this huge, I want them to feel like it's a personable meeting. And I think it also comes back to how my parents raised me. We through ups, through downs, you remain consistent, you remain kind, you remain respectful. And that's kind of how I try to interact and treat everyone. So the humility thing is, I think, always been a part of me, and I couldn't really imagine me being a different me. This is just me. I don't know.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up before we get to the next one. So what I didn't ask you in the other part of the interview was, since the Olympics, your schedule, can you share what your schedule has been like since you got back from the Olympics, got back from Dominica? What's that been like?
Okay, Dominica was, every day was scheduled by the hour for different events, so quite booked indeed. And then we came back, maybe I went from 4 events a week to maybe around 3. I've spoken at the IMF, I've met with St. Anne's Home for Mothers and Children. I have been to numerous sporting events, so whether it be the Orioles or the Ravens or the Washington Spirit. So we were definitely booked and busy. It's a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
In University of Maryland football game, you got honored.
Yeah.
You saw Caitlin Clark play against the Mystics. You've had quite a last few weeks.
Yeah, and I'll be Grand Marshal this week at the University of Maryland homecoming. So come on Friday for our carnival. Shameless plug, sorry.
Next question.
Shameless plug. I work at the University of Maryland. So you stated that you had a strong support system growing up and doing the sports. What advice would you give to any young lady who does not have that same strong support system that you had, but to keep them encouraged to keep going, to chasing their dreams?
I would say find just one person. If it's a teacher, if it's a mentor, someone that you respect, even if your relationship is not even that close and you just think that they're a good person, make an effort to make that connection. Sometimes having one person that believes in you, one person that can be a reminder that you are enough, that you are powerful, that you are capable, can change someone's trajectory in life.
Thea, you're amazing, not just because you won the gold medal, even before that, but I just want to say you're an amazing person and a great role model, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you. And I want to thank you for letting MCM go along this journey with you to get to Paris and then to ultimately win that beautiful gold medal that you have draped around you. So thank you, Thea LaFond.
Thank you for having me.
If you haven't seen the documentary, please check it out on YouTube. Have to put in a plug for that, right? Thank you to our studio audience and those watching at home. And I want to thank everybody at MCM who made today possible. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on MoCo's Most Famous.